In the summer of 1916, a unit of Hungarian soldiers walks into a quiet wooden shed on the outskirts of Cinkota, looking for petrol for the war effort. They pry the lid off one of 24 metal drums lining the back wall. Inside, suspended in pure grain alcohol, is the body of a woman, strangled, perfectly preserved. 23 more drums stand silently beside her. None of them contains a single drop of fuel. The village of Cinkota sits a short train ride from Budapest, a green and quiet place of brick houses and unpaved lanes, the kind of village that exists in the imagination of Europeans as much as it exists on a map. In the early years of the 20th century, the village's most respectable resident is a tinsmith, a tall, neatly dressed man in his late 30s named Béla Kiss. He keeps a clean workshop. He attends church on Sundays. He treats his neighbors with the soft, deferential charm of a man who knows exactly how much eye contact to make and exactly when to look away. The women of the village call him polite. The men of the village call him quiet. The local priest calls him faithful. He is, by every account anyone records, an ordinary, almost forgettable presence in village life. He pays his bills on time. He returns greetings on the street. He volunteers small repairs for the church roof. If anything stands out about him, it is only that he is too unremarkable. The kind of man whose face one has trouble recalling, even after a conversation. In a village that thrives on rumor and gossip, Béla Kiss provides nothing. He lives alone. His young wife, Marie, ran off years earlier. Or so the village has been told. She had been beautiful, restless, and reportedly involved with a young artist named Bakari. Béla tells anyone who asks the same gentle story. Marie went away with him, took her things, never wrote. He says it without bitterness. He says it so easily, in fact, that no one ever thinks to ask twice. Then, in the years before the First World War, the rumors begin. Women, mostly widows, mostly from Budapest, mostly traveling alone, are seen arriving at Kiss's small home with suitcases and savings. They are not seen leaving. The village notices, in the casual, half-attentive way that villagers notice things. Nobody calls the police. There is, after all, nothing to call them about. A bachelor receives lady visitors. So what? Béla Kiss is, quietly and methodically, a predator. He places personal advertisements in Budapest's daily papers, writing under different names. A widowed merchant, a retired soldier, a lonely property owner seeking a kind woman to share his quiet country life. The women who answer are not foolish. They are cautious, often middle-aged, often alone in a way that the modern world has begun to forget. They write letters. They send photographs. They ask careful, practical questions. And when Kiss writes back, his words are gentle, literate, almost romantic. He invites them to visit his country home, to see before they decide. They visit, and then they vanish. The Budapest police receive scattered missing person reports over the years. A woman who left her flat with a new beau, a sister who never wrote home from the country, an aunt who promised to visit and never came. Nothing connects them. Hungary is a large country in 1913. Women disappear all the time. They marry badly. They emigrate. They fall in love with strangers. In his shed, Béla Kiss is collecting them. He strangles them. He removes any money, any jewelry, any letter with their name on it. Then, and this is the detail that will haunt European investigators for the next century, he carefully places each body inside a heavy steel drum, fills the drum to the brim with grain alcohol, and seals the lid. When neighbors ask what the drums are for, he tells them, with a small, embarrassed smile, that he is stockpiling petrol. A sensible thing, he says, with all this talk of war. By 1914, the world has indeed gone to war, and petrol has indeed become precious. The drums in Kiss's shed grow in number. 24 of them now stand against the wall. In 1916, the Hungarian army drafts Béla Kiss into the infantry. He closes his workshop. He kisses his neighbors goodbye. He leaves Cinkota for the Eastern Front. Word comes back to the village some months later that he has been killed in action. His landlord, in need of unpaid rent and aware of the valuable petrol allegedly stored in the workshop, contacts the local constable. The army, desperate for fuel, sends soldiers to the property in the summer of that year. They arrive with crowbars. They begin to pry open the drums. Inside the first drum is a woman. She is fully clothed, strangled, and remarkably well preserved. The grain alcohol has done its work. The soldiers open another drum. Another woman. They keep going. By nightfall, the Cinkota police have counted 24 bodies in the shed, and they have begun to dig in the garden behind the workshop. In the soil, they find more. Among them, the press will later claim, are the remains of Kiss's missing wife, Marie, and the artist she was said to have run away with. They never ran away at all. The investigation falls to a Budapest detective named Caroline Nagy. In Kiss's house, behind a locked door, Nagy finds a private study, a room filled, floor to ceiling, with carefully filed correspondence. Hundreds of letters from at least 74 different women. Each correspondence follows the same arc. An answered advertisement, a careful, courteous courtship, a discussion of dowries, savings, property, a planned visit, and then, in every case, silence. Some of the women wrote to Kiss for months before they ever came to Cinkota. Some sent him small gifts, embroidered handkerchiefs, watercolors, photographs of children from previous marriages. Some wrote in elegant Hungarian. Others wrote in awkward immigrant German. A few wrote with a hopefulness so naked that Detective Nagy, decades later, will set the bundles down and walk out of the room. These are not the letters of foolish women. They are the letters of survivors. Widows of soldiers, widows of accidents, widows of long illnesses, looking in the worst country and the worst decade in which to be a lonely woman for one last decent man. Nagy realizes he is looking at the records of a serial killer who has been operating undetected for years. But Béla Kiss is supposedly dead. Nagy sends inquiries to the army. Yes, Béla Kiss died at the front, but when his service file is examined more closely, something is wrong. The age does not match. The body that was buried under Kiss's name belonged to another soldier. Perhaps a man Kiss switched papers with before slipping away, or perhaps a man he killed in order to disappear. The hunt for Béla Kiss begins. It will never end. For the next 2 decades, Béla Kiss becomes one of Europe's most sought-after fugitives and one of its most slippery. In 1919, a man matching his description is reportedly spotted in a Budapest hospital, recovering from typhoid, but escapes before officers can confirm his identity. In 1924, a Romanian newspaper claims he has been seen working in Bucharest under a false name. In 1925, a Turkish prison guard insists that one of the inmates in his charge has confessed in confused Hungarian to a string of crimes. In 1932, a homicide detective from the New York Police Department, Henry Oswald, nicknamed Camera Eye for his uncanny memory for faces, reports passing a man on the platform of the Times Square subway station, who he is absolutely convinced is Béla Kiss. By the time Oswald turns around, the man is gone. he is sighted by other people in the French Foreign Legion, as a porter on an Atlantic steamship, as a janitor in a Manhattan apartment building during the 1940s. Each story is investigated. Each story falls apart on contact. Each story is then told and retold in true crime serials, in late-night radio broadcasts, in the kind of paperback books that grandmothers used to buy at train stations. He is never caught. In Hungary, Béla Kiss becomes something more uncomfortable than a criminal. He becomes a folk story, a warning to women in cities, a name spoken in the voice usually reserved for ghosts. The drums of Cinkota are eventually dismantled and destroyed. The workshop is torn down. The house is leveled. But the village does not forget. Historians today estimate that Kiss killed at least 24 women. They believe the true number may be closer to 70. The official files in Budapest still list dozens of women who answered his advertisements and have never been accounted for. The questions remain. Who taught Béla Kiss to preserve a body in alcohol so perfectly? Why did he keep his victims in plain sight, in his own shed, where anyone could have looked? And what kind of man can answer a knock at his front door, smile at a lonely widow, walk her gently through his quiet garden, and then come back inside to a private room full of letters from the women he has already killed? He walked, calmly and without ceremony, out of his life and into history. If Béla Kiss was caught after the war, it was under another name, and no record was ever made of it. If he is buried somewhere, no one has marked the stone, which is, perhaps, exactly what he wanted. What do you think happened to Béla Kiss after 1916? Did he die in the chaos of war? Or did he walk among us for decades, hiding in the most ordinary places imaginable?